Hello Internet folk, and hello to the fans of the basic programming language. Uh, Gonna do a little video today to show uh, a bug that I found in Basic Anywhere Machine's basic interpreter, and how I've found the bug, how I resolved the bug, how I identified where the problem was without really knowing the code related to the functionality that was giving me problems. Uh, if you're interested in that kind of thing, the um, the interpreter used by Basic Anywhere Machine is an embedded version of something called www.basic, and let me bring up the GitHub site for that. So what I've done with Basic Anywhere Machine is I've taken the www.basic JavaScript library, so all of this code, and I've embedded it in Basic Anywhere Machine. And I've since made a whole series of changes to that code. And let me bring up the project webpage for Basic Anywhere Machine. And if you take a peek, there's a lot of content in there, but if you go into About and www.basic, you'll see that I've got a page that lists off a whole bunch of enhancements that I've made to the version of www.basic that you find on the web. The version embedded in Basic Anywhere Machine has a substantial number of fixes. Uh, let's go back to the top and see what this all means. Fixes, improvements, significant edits, and just write out additions of functionality to the basic interpreter. Anyway, what I was playing around with today was creating pie charts, right? And although the circle function, you can create a pie chart with the circle function uh, without using any other statements in Basic Anywhere Machine. What I wanted was to create a circle and use draw statements to create the pies, and then color them with the paint statement. But the problem that I was running into is that my circle, even though I was setting myself up to paint just the pie part of the circle, the entire circle was getting colored. So without knowing the code, that, that the interpreter, the code in the interpreter to translate these basic statements into JavaScript, without digging into that and without knowing that, I decided to first of all just try to understand what's going on. And I know that the paint statement, for it to stay within a bounded area, right? So here we're painting the color yellow, bounded by an area that's white. For the paint to stay within that bounded area, there can't be any gaps between the white pixels. So for the entire circle to get colored instead of just the pie that I wanted to color, it means that there must be some gaps in this little triangle that I'm creating. So let's comment out some code here. And so here's the pie part, right? And the only way for yellow to spill out of this bounded area is for there to be some gaps in here. So I decided, okay, well let's reduce our resolution here, so that way we can really see the pixels. So if we change that to 22, and let's make this a little bit bigger here so we can see what's going on. And just so we can see the pixels better, we're going to change the runtime properties to disable image smoothing. So at 22, no problems. 32, no gaps. And I just kept on doing this until I finally found that it took me until I get to 102 to realize that, oh, okay, well, here's a problem. So at a nice 45-degree angle, one would think that the pixels should just be in a nice straight line, but here's one pixel that's off. And I thought, okay, well, what could cause that? Why this little block here, you would think should be one over to the right? What would cause it to not be to the right? And why I thought of this, I don't know. Maybe it's just from years of experience. I can't pinpoint anything in my life that pinpoint anything in my life that would explain why I came up to this thought. But my thought was, looking at this is a rounding problem. And to me, it seems like instead of this being there, it's winding up there because we're doing oh, instead of doing a rounding up or down, we're chopping off a number somewhere. So we're rounding down every time instead of maybe rounding up in this particular case. So I did a little search. Well, in JavaScript has the round function, but it's also got another one. And instead of searching the web for that, let's take a look at the basic www basic code that we've got in here. So let's take a peek, and let's just edit that. And not too long ago, I implemented a function called cint. And if we take a look at cint does a round, but int does a floor. And there, I was forgetting the words a while ago. It seems to me that our graphic is doing a floor instead of a round. That's my guess. So then I decide, okay, well, let's go take a look in here and see wherever we can find math.floor throughout the www basic library. And eventually, just save some time here, it brought me over to the raw line function www basic, and I found inside of here, nope, we're not going to find, yeah, I found inside of here cases where we are using floor to decide where the y should be, and to decide where the x should be. So I'm thinking, I betcha that's the problem, but of course the only way to find out is to try it. And lo and behold, let's close this. In this version of Basic Anywhere Machine, we go take a peek at the Basic Script web page, and you'll see that I've made some edits in this version. And let's go find the function raw line, and you'll see here that I've commented out the floor, and instead I'm using round, and doing the same thing here. I replace the floor with a round, and lo and behold, it fixes the problem. And just to better see what's going on, let's get back to the editor here. Let's go back into the IDE, and let's change this guy to 102 as well, and let's comment out the paint. And if we take a look at this and we compare it to that, we see that using round instead of floor moves that pixel over to the right. So anyway, so this is just a video I want to well, instead of writing down the problem, I want to do a video to add it to my documentation regarding the fix that has been made here. But it also hopefully shows to some folk especially if you're fairly new to programming, how to troubleshoot a problem without really knowing what's going on. And just just to show you what I did uh, to figure out that there was actually a rounding issue problem, I started with an angle of 1, and you can see that the line changes position as we change that angle. And I went through the entire thing and found that I was only getting gaps in the pixels when I got to, so I tried all of the angles between 0 and 45 and 90 degrees and found that it was just the 45-degree angle that was giving me problems. But then I was also getting the problem at 135. Oh, not in this case. This is one of those scenarios that you gotta bump up the resolution a bit. But anyway, I forget what numbers I had, but let's go back to 102. And let's go back to 45. So that's how I found out the problem. It's a little bit like if you were into electronics and you're testing a circuit and you're putting one probe in one end of the circuit and a probe in another part of the circuit, trying to figure out where the problem is. And this was just my approach was to just try various angles to see what was going on. Once I realized that this was a problem, and I only discovered this problem today because I happened to set up my Pi with a 45-degree angle. Had I chosen any other angle, I never would have found this problem at all. Anyway, I hope you found this video interesting. Cheers.